Good morning, Venezuela. In this video, I'm going to talk about SHTF. Write in the comments below what you feel is the most likely thing to happen during SHTF. Like, what do you think would spur it off? And I'm going to tell you right now that whatever you wrote is probably wrong. It could be right. I mean, there's a chance it could be right, but there's a good chance it could be wrong. Like obviously, if you're in Alaska and you're preparing for a blizzard, you're probably on a pretty good track, right? Um, but say for instance, you're in California and you're not prepared for a fire, like fire's pretty high on my list of concerns. It really is, but financial, I think my name's Good Morning Venezuela. There's a reason why. I always assumed that one day we'd wake up and the world had changed. Like either the stock market or the currency had collapsed. And we would wake up and the world wouldn't be the same as it was when we went to bed. All right. Good morning, Venezuela. and it's looking like that's happening right before our eyes. It's not happening all at once. People are only getting laid off by the tens of thousands. It's not like everyone lost their job overnight, but it's getting to a point where it's getting pretty bad, right? Tonight we had a severe flash flood warning in my area. Um, we had I had the garage door open, and we had like 5 flashes of lightning per second that you could see just out the garage door. And this happened for like 2 hours. I thought the freaking sky was falling. We got like 6 drops of rain. We had lightning just pew, 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 and it was nonstop. We got 6 freaking drops of rain. But if you go to the other side of town, they had flash flooding. There's roads closed because there's boulders in the middle of the road. The highway's closed because it's covered with water. And one thing with SHTF, you watch a lot of these videos and you can tell all these people, they know what's going to happen, right? And they might be right, but there's a good probability that they're wrong. I hear sirens going right now. So the cops are still busy. Who knows? Someone might have drove into the damn water. That's pretty likely. People panic and they usually take unnecessary risks, or they're not paying attention and they do stupid shit, right? But keeping a calm, collected head is probably one of the best things you could do in any type of fight or flight scenario where you have to take actions. We have to self-assess. Like when we go through any obstacle or hardship, we have to be able to self-reflect and see what we did well and our weaknesses. When we have to focus on our weaknesses. Like one thing that I felt I did pretty well is, well, with this flash flooding and we had crazy windstorms, I thought we were going to lose electricity. In my area, the electricity is like uber reliable. Um, I've lived here for like 8 years, and I think I've lost power like maybe that many times. Never more than 10 minutes, right? But that's always been a concern of mine. I live in the desert. It gets 120 degrees, right? So one of my preps is I have lots of these Ryobi drill batteries. I got a bunch of them. They're all fully charged, and I have misting fans, right? Because if it gets 120 and the electricity goes out or the grid gets overhauled because everyone's running their AC, I can always fill a bucket full of water and not fucking melt to death, right? There's a lot of people that don't have a way to stay cool unless the electricity goes out. It could kill a lot of people if the electricity were to just go out for a day out here. Like people wouldn't know what to do. But the highway's closed right now. What would happen if they couldn't reopen that in a fast fashion? What would happen if the semis couldn't get in to deliver supplies? Um, would people be paying crazy money for cigarettes or beer or anything that they needed? Probably. What if the roads were impassable? Like, how much would someone give you for a ride on the back of your dirt bike to wherever they got to go? Right? They'd probably pay you whatever they had to get a ride. And I'm not saying that you should uh, just look at like SHTF as like a profitability thing, but I mean, if the scenario calls for it, and people are willing to pay for a ride on the back of your dirt bike, obviously that ride is very valuable, right? So I think that people need to have a wider focus when it comes to prepping. Like the people that say that barter is shouldn't even be considered, you can tell what kind of preppers those are. Those are people that are stockpiling bullets, right? Because they believe that the only scenario that could ever happen is blood in the streets. And that's, I mean, it could happen, but catching a cold or, the thing is, everyone's going to have a personal SHTF. At the end of the road, you're guaranteed to have a personal SHTF. Are you prepared for that? Everyone meets their end at some point, right? Whether, I mean, that could happen in any fashion. But we should really consider all things. What if the electricity went out? Like, how prepared are you right now? Um, do you have a cupboard full of clean dishes? Do you have a closet full of clean clothes or a dresser? Or are you going to be the guy that's going to be trying to wash your socks in a 5-gallon bucket? Or, flipping your undies inside out for the rest of your life? Um, if you have those tasks completed, say you got clean dishes and clean laundry, and well, shit, you're going to be worlds apart, worlds ahead of everyone else that doesn't have all of that. There's a lot of people with a pile of laundry, and a lot of preppers are actually they're so focused on like news, what's happening around the world, that they're not focusing on what's happening right at the tip of their nose. They're not focusing on the local. They're not focusing on their own household. I could watch the news and I could see shit that's happening in Chicago, and it's just going to piss me off. But the thing is, I'm not in Chicago. I have no control over it. It has no impact over me. And why am I going to raise my blood pressure over something that's like trivial to me, right? If you're in Chicago, fuck, I don't know what to tell you. But you got to focus on what's happening in your local area way more than what you're focused on, like, you know, what's going on everywhere else. And, like, what about that Epstein feller? They ever going to catch that guy? It's crazy how he just, like, slipped out of jail, when none of the cameras worked and those guards were drugged. I meant sleeping. When those guards were sleeping, how, he just slipped out, hopefully they catch that guy someday. Just saying.